Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Breaking news yesterday, Ukraine accepted a deal offered by the Trump administration during a meeting in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, this is a significant step forward in securing a ceasefire agreement and bringing an end to the war with Russia. We have the latest on this. A government accountability nonprofit is calling on the House to launch a probe into whether Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez misappropriated her taxpayer-funded member allowance. And stocks took another beating yesterday as the trade wars continue. Canada has backed down on their proposed 25% tariff on electricity after President Trump threatened to increase tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. And breaking news, or maybe not, Rosie O'Donnel has left the country, moving out of the U.S. because of her hatred of Donald Trump.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So did President Donald Trump's strategy of throwing Ukraine President Zelensky out of the Oval Office work? Apparently, Ukraine has accepted a ceasefire deal brokered by the Trump administration during talks in Saudi Arabia. Now, all eyes are on Moscow to see whether they will agree to the terms. We're still a long way away. A lot of things have to happen, but Ukraine evidently has agreed to a 30-day ceasefire, contingent upon Russia's acceptance, of course. In response, Ukraine's willingness to negotiate, Trump has lifted the pause on U.S. security assistance to Ukraine and resumed intelligence sharing. If Russia agrees, the next phase of talks will focus on prisoner exchanges and the return of children abducted by Russia. The Trump administration and Ukraine has discussed long-term security assurances for Ukraine, though specifics have not been disclosed yet. Ukraine has insisted that European nations be part of the peace process, signaling a much broader diplomatic effort. So, Trump's strategy, peace or concessions, this is a significant moment in this situation, not only for Ukraine, but for Donald Trump's foreign policy legacy. His administration has taken a drastically different approach than, of course, what Joe Biden did, emphasizing negotiation over prolonged military aid. The big question now is whether Russia will accept the deal, and if so, what concessions Ukraine might have agreed to. But either way, it seems like there's progress. And wouldn't this be something if within a couple of months of Donald Trump taking office, this situation is settled? After we poured billions of dollars in with Joe Biden just continually writing the check. Wonder if what if they used the auto pen to sign those checks? Wow. If Russia accepts, this could mark the beginning of the end of the war. And if Putin rejects it, Trump may face pressure to increase support to Ukraine or push for even tougher negotiations. That's going to be quite interesting. I can't imagine, though, that Putin is going to push back on this because Putin has to understand the pressures that Trump will be under and that the world is watching this. Interestingly, Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that a mineral deal would be discussed at a later date, suggesting that U.S. access to Ukraine's critical resources like the lithium and rare earth minerals could be part of a broader geopolitical arrangement, evidently not part of this initial deal, though. Russia's official response to the ceasefire deal, of course, critical to this working. The specific terms of the agreement, which are kind of unclear, likely will spark a lot of debate in both Ukraine, Washington, and Russia. And the role of the European allies. What do they play in this? Whether they'll back Trump's approach, we don't know yet. But again, this is a huge shift that could mean peace between Ukraine and Russia. What do you think? Did Trump's approach of negotiating peace and playing strong with Zelensky, was this the right approach? It appears it may have worked. Meanwhile, in the trade wars, Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced yesterday that Canada's most populous province was suspending its 25% surcharge on electricity. Now, remember, this was their answer, their response to some of Trump's announced tariffs earlier, that they were going to charge a 25% surcharge on electricity that comes over on that northern border. In a statement on X, Mr. Ford said he had a productive conversation with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and that the two would meet in Washington tomorrow alongside U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. Ford said he would discuss a renewed USMCA with Lutnick and Greer, referring, of course, to the North American Trade Agreement signed during Trump's first term in office. Ford and Lutnick added in their joint statement, in response, Ontario agreed to suspend its 25% surcharge on exports of electricity to Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. This has been a wild ride, as nerves on Wall Street are raw. Wall Street suffered a second straight losing day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped more than 478 points after losing nearly 700 points earlier in the day, and just took a beating yesterday on Monday. The NASDAQ fell more than 32 points. S&P 500 dropped just over 42 points. President Trump had written a scathing response to Mr. Ford's electricity surcharge earlier on Tuesday morning, saying that the U.S. would bring its tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum to 50% in response. I guess they decided they didn't want to play that game of chicken. The 50% tariff was set to go into effect today, this morning. But Trump trade advisor Peter Navarro told CNBC Tuesday afternoon there would be no additional 25% increase after Ford called off the electric surcharge. He said President Trump has once again used the leverage of the American economy, which is the best and biggest in the world, to deliver a win for the American people. Pursuant to his previous executive orders, a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum with no exceptions or exemptions will go into effect for Canada and all of the other trading partners at midnight, March the 12th. Trump also warned Canada to drop their high tariffs on U.S. dairy products and said he would increase levies on Canada's auto industry on April the 2nd, promising to decimate its exports. This is wild, folks, and I'm not quite sure where this ends. President Trump praised Ford for backing down with from his 25% electricity surcharge, telling reporters on the South Lawn he has called, and he said he's going to do that. It would have been a very bad thing if he did, and he's not going to do that. I so respect that. This ongoing trade war has been brewing with Canada since the president took office and threatened the northern neighbor with a blanket 25% tariff if they do not secure the northern border from drug smuggling and illegal immigration, and didn't lower their tariffs on the U.S. You think Canada and Mexico particularly think that they can win a trade war with us? Do you think that they believe Trump is weak and will back down? Now, I know China doesn't care. Well, they probably care, but they're willing to roll the dice. But I just don't understand why Canada and Mexico would even want to go down this road. In February, Trump delayed the initial imposition of tariffs for 1 month after Canada agreed to send troops to the border and work to rein in drug smuggling. But the relationship, of course, quickly devolved, and the 25% across-the-board tariffs took effect March 4th. Now, why do you think Canada did not bend over backwards and send whatever troops they needed to help secure that border? I just don't understand it. I would think that Canada, particularly, now I understand Mexico they just don't care, but I would think that Canada would want to do whatever it is we want them to do to secure that border. because you got to know that this is hurting Canada from the standpoint of if drug smugglers think they can come through our northern border, they're coming through Canada. If they get the message that, hey, you're not going to make it through the northern border, they don't try it. They don't go up there. And it makes Canada safer. Am I missing something here? Do you think Canada believes that they can win a trade war with us? Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Send me a quick text. Hi, Joey Hudson here. You know, this spring there's a renewed energy and focus on efficiencies, and shaking up unhealthy habits don't serve us well. There's so much chatter about making America great again, but it starts in your home with you being the best, healthiest version of yourself. And PhD Weight Loss is doing their part, because for the first time ever, the first 11 callers get 2 free weeks added to your weight loss program. That is huge. PhD's out to prove that you don't need Big Pharma to reach your goals. It just creates dependency, not long-term change. Dr. Ashley Lucas researched weight loss trends for years and discovered a scientifically proven way to retrain your body to burn fat efficiently without hunger, extreme exercise, or dangerous medications. PhD clients watch their belly fat disappear, their energy skyrocket, cholesterol and blood pressure normalize without starving themselves. I lost over 30 pounds and I've never felt better. So call now and mention promo code Joey for my 2 weeks for free with my program. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. I hate to say I told you so, but, well, actually, no, I love saying I told you so, because here we are, yet again, watching AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the so-called champion of the people, get caught up in another ethics scandal. Have you seen the headlines? This time it's about where your taxpayer dollars have been going. And let me tell you, it ain't to help her constituents. So here's the story. A government accountability watchdog, Americans for Public Trust, has just called on Congress to launch an investigation into AOC's misuse of taxpayer funds. Now, why does this matter? Because every single member of Congress gets what's called a member representational allowance. It's called MRA for short. A budget strictly for official duties. Cannot be used for personal expenses. She can't take her friends out for breakfast. She can't buy the drinks at a party. She can't buy herself things that maybe she wants to check off of her gift list. It cannot be used for campaigning either. And it absolutely cannot be a personal slush fund. Well, what do we find here? AOC's office spent thousands of dollars on mysterious training sessions. Specifically, there's a $3,700 payment to a Juan D. Gonzalez and an $850 payment to a dance company. A dance company? Apparently, while you and I and Americans across the country are struggling to pay their bills, to buy gas, to buy groceries, and all the things that we've seen inflation just escalate these past few years, AOC is twirling her way through Congress, all on our money. Now, I'm laughing, but it ain't really funny. When confronted about it, her response is classic. She immediately jumps on X and says, quote, "None of this is taxpayer money. This is an FEC filing," except, actually, that's a blatant lie. The filings prove that this was her taxpayer-funded office account, not a campaign expenditure. So where does this leave us? Well, 2 possibilities. Either AOC doesn't know the difference between campaign money and your money, or she got caught and is trying to spin her way out of it. My money's on the latter. What do you think? So let's just look at this for a moment, because this is just another attempt or the latest chapter in this never-ending saga of AOC and her ethics problems, because she thinks she's above the law. She thinks that she doesn't have to play by the rules. Let's not forget, this is the same self-proclaimed socialist who showed up to the Met Gala in 2021 in a $35,000 ticket event wearing a custom-made tax-the-rich dress. Remember that? And what happened? Well, the House Ethics Pro found that she accepted impermissible gifts. And that's Washington speak for she took things that she wasn't allowed to take. and she just got a slap on the hand. That's the hypocrisy that we're dealing with here. But let's dig a little deeper here, because you see the radical left, led by people like AOC and her squad, they love to talk about government accountability when it applies to you and me. When they want to tell you how much energy you can use, how much money you can keep, how much of your freedom they can take away, suddenly it's all about the rules. But when it comes to their own conduct, oh, the rules don't apply. Just throw the rules out the window. We can't be held accountable to those rules. And let's talk about what this means politically. AOC and the far left wing of the Democrat Party, they're kind of on shaky ground going into 2026 because Trump and the America First movement, they're roaring back. The squad's radical policies are failing spectacularly, and even moderate Democrats are trying to distance themselves from all this nonsense. And now that she's got an ethics scandal right in the middle of it, I don't know. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the time that AOC really does land in hot water. Maybe they turn on her. I mean, this is what corruption looks like. And this is why the Democrat establishment is absolutely terrified of Trump's Department of Government Efficiency. This is why they want DOGE to go away. Because once Trump and Elon Musk starts cutting waste, once they start holding people accountable, once the swamp is really drained and real people like AOC they're going to have to be held accountable. There's going to be nowhere to hide. And here's what I think is coming next. The House, I hope, and I mean, they better open an official probe into this, right? If the Republican majority lets this slide, that's going to be a huge mistake. The American people deserve to know how their money is being spent. And people like AOC, who up until now thinks the rules don't apply to them, they need to be shown that, yes, you do have to abide by the rules too, just like everybody else does. Because if a Republican congressperson had spent tax dollars on dance lessons, the media would be all over it. CNN would be running 24/7 segments about how dangerous it is that conservatives are abusing power. But because it's AOC, suddenly it's just a misunderstanding. It is a mistake. It's not what it looks to be. Are you buying this? And do you think the Republicans are going to let her get by with this time? Look, if her own party is smart, they'll turn her in. They'll turn on her. They'll hold her accountable as well, because that's the only way the Democrats are going to dig themselves out of this hole, is to let the American people know that, well, maybe we were just a little misguided before, but we're going to get back on track, and we're going to make an example out of AOC this time. So here's the message to the GOP members of Congress. Investigate this immediately. No excuses, no delays. If AOC misused taxpayer money, she should be held accountable and fast. If she can't tell the difference between her campaign account and your tax dollars, maybe she shouldn't be handling money at all. Maybe she shouldn't even be in the U.S. House of Representatives at all. Maybe she needs to go back to bartending, making margaritas. Folks, this may just be the beginning, because I think we're going to see more of this type of accountability, and that's why the Democrats and people like AOC in the establishment are panicking. The deep state's trying everything they can to hold on to power. We're winning, and we're going to win, which means the American people are going to win. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Rosie O'Donnel has left the country. More on that in just a minute. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt sparred with the Associated Press reporter yesterday over what she called an insulting question trying to test her knowledge of economics. AP's Josh Boak asked about President Trump's address at the Business Roundtable quarterly meeting that was set to occur after the White House press briefing yesterday. He claimed that despite Trump's previously promoting tax cuts during his last BRT meeting in 2024, that the president is now pushing tax hikes through tariffs. Leavitt objected to this line of questioning, interrupting him, saying, "Not true."
If we could just step back for a second. When President Trump last addressed the BRT when he was on the campaign trail, his big push was on tax cuts. He's going there today as he's proposing tax hikes in the form of tariffs.
Not
and
true.
I'm curious
He's not
for
doing
why
that.
he's prioritizing that over the tax cuts.
He's actually not implementing tax hikes. Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries that, again, have been ripping us off. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people. And the president is a staunch advocate of tax cuts. As you know, he campaigned on no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits. He is committed to all three of those things, and he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
That's
They
it.
don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
You know, I don't know that I have enjoyed White House press conferences as much since Sarah Huckabee Sanders was there. Remember how she would just smack the reporters down? Caroline Leavitt is just as quick on her feet. Now I regret giving a question to the AP. Look, the AP may be thrown out altogether. The Trump White House, of course, has had a pretty tumultuous relationship with the AP, blocking the news organization from the Oval Office and from Air Force One. They may get thrown out of the press briefing room because, you know, this all started when they refused to name the Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico. AP spokesperson Lauren Easton attacked the decision in a comment to Fox News Digital back when this happened, saying freedom of speech is a pillar of American democracy and a core value of the American people. The White House has said it supports these principles. The actions taken to restrict AP's coverage of presidential events because of how we refer to a geographic location chip away at this important right enshrined in the U.S. Constitution for all Americans. Look, I don't know who they think they're impressing with this type of questioning, but that is a good way to get tossed, to get on the blacklist permanently. In other breaking news yesterday, Rosie O'Donnell says she has left the country.
Well, hey everybody, it's me, Rosie O'Donnell, star of the Flintstones. It's Tuesday all day, as my nana would say. And I'm here in Ireland. And it's beautiful and warm, not physically, it's actually quite cold. Moved here on January 15th, and it's been pretty wonderful, I have to say. The people are so loving and so kind, so welcoming, and I'm very grateful. I'm in the process of getting my Irish citizenship, as I have Irish grandparents, and that's what's going on, and that's where I've been and what I've been doing. And
come on, give me a break. Do you really care what Rosie O'Donnell has been doing? I mean, I had to just share this with you because I think it's hilarious. And, of course, the audio that I just shared with you, was a video that she posted online. She looks awful looking to begin with, and she has this droopy looking face, like she's all sad and everything, just heartbroken. She just wants attention. She wants people to say, "Oh, Rosie, please come back. Please come back." She's been sparring with President Trump. This all started back in the mid-2000s. And of course, is a frequent Trump critic. The comedian said that she's living in Ireland and is in the process of applying for Irish citizenship. There should be a law that if you denounce your U.S. citizenship and go to a foreign country, you should never be allowed to come back. She should have to stay there the rest of her life. She said that she left the country January the 15th, just prior to the inauguration. I suppose because she didn't want to say that she had lived in this country under Donald Trump again. I mean, her differences with Trump is not just political. These two have been in a feud since, again, the 2000s. I looked it up. I was curious. I couldn't remember exactly what happened, but this started on The View about Trump's decision to be lenient towards a Miss USA winner who had been accused of drug use and other bad behavior. Now, think about this for a minute. Trump at the time responded to the criticism, of course, by calling O'Donnell a real loser. But what he said was that Miss USA, this was Tara Conner, and that he believes people should get a second chance. That he said at the time, and this is a quote, "Tara is a good person. Tara has tried hard. Tara is going to be given a second chance." Now, I thought people like O'Donnell and the left were all about second chances. I thought that O'Donnell would praise Trump for this. I had really forgotten how this all started. But she condemned him because he tried to support this young lady. And then they continued this back and forth. Donald told People magazine in 2014 that their feud involved the most bullying I've ever experienced in my life. She then stepped up her Trump critiques during his first presidential win because she never thought he would win. She never dreamed that he would beat Hillary Clinton. She jokingly told Seth Meyers that she spends about 90% of her working hours tweeting hatred toward the administration. Now, she was joking when she said that, but I think she probably meant it. I think there was some truth there. I think she's obsessed with Trump, and this isn't healthy. This lady is nuts. If he gets under her skin that badly and she spends 90% of her working hours trying to undermine him, is that not sick? I mean, has she lost it? I mean, look, I didn't care for Joe Biden. I hated every minute that he was in office because I think that he and Kamala Harris did more damage to our country in those 4 years than ever in the history of our country. But I didn't spend 90% of my time trying to get under his skin. Sure, every day I talked about him on the show. You and I shared a lot of our disappointments. But look, I went on and did things. You know, I'm not going to let anybody dictate my days, and particularly 90% of it. Remember when she came up in a 2015 Republican primary debate when Trump was asked about having called women disparaging names like fat pigs and a slob? and he answered, only Rosie O'Donnell, and everybody laughed? I mean, I think she should have gotten the message then that that a lot of people probably agreed with Trump when it came to her. He also brought up O'Donnell during last year's election when he told a group at the October Al Smith dinner that The View had gotten so bad that showrunners really need to bring Rosie O'Donnell back to increase their ratings. O'Donnell stayed engaged during the election. She posted a lot of videos on TikTok, including an especially fiery one on Thanksgiving, which she warned people, you can't forget what he's capable of. She said, this is not a sane person. This is a madman. You got to get ready for what's coming. She said, when democracy falls, fascism takes its place. Well, when she's calling Donald Trump a madman, yet she's the one absorbed and obsessed with what he does? I mean, I doubt that Donald Trump even thinks about Rosie O'Donnell. Only when she comes up in a news headline like this. I'm sure he's aware that she's moved out. I tried to search to see if he had made a comment yet, but haven't been able to find it. And he may not. He may just ignore it because that's what she wants, right? She wants the attention. And aside from all of her political reasons for leaving the U.S., O'Donnell says she and her daughter are happy in Ireland and enjoying exploring the country. Well, good. I'm happy for you. If you're happy in Ireland, I'm happy you're in Ireland. And again, I hope you stay there. I hope that you get your Irish citizenship and you stay there. You're not welcome back to this country. She added that she was sorry to all her fans who were worried about her and missed her. Who's worried about Rosie O'Donnell? I mean, even fans of hers, I'm not sure they're really worried about her leaving the country. I say good riddance. You agree? The comedian said that she thinks that about the U.S. every day. And she says, I'm hoping that we can turn things around. I'm counting on you, all of you, to do what's right. Well, if you felt that deeply about it, why didn't you stay here and fight for your beliefs? Why did you leave the country? I mean, how hypocritical for you to leave the country and say, okay, I'm going to become a citizen of another country, but yet you're hoping that we turn things around? Wow. She is nuts, isn't she? She's just absolutely lost it. On our guest line, representing the 4th Congressional District of South Carolina, Congressman William Timmons. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Joey. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure, Congressman. Things have been kind of busy there, huh? You're serving on the Oversight Subcommittee on DOGE. Talk with us a little bit about what you guys are doing. We're all familiar, of course, with what the president has tasked Elon Musk to do. Give us an overview of what your subcommittee will be actually doing.
So, honestly, it's some of the most exciting work I've ever done in my professional life. So what the DOGE team and the admin is doing is basically creating the systems, the back end, to force all the different government agencies to communicate with each other, and they're going to run everything through Treasury. So then what we're going to do in Congress is we're going to overlay enhanced identity verification and enhanced employment eligibility verification to then make sure that the right people are getting the benefits that they're entitled to. It's as simple as that. And we're going to get it done. And honestly, it could save anywhere between $1 and $1.5 trillion, which is going to go a long way to getting a hold of our $1.8 trillion deficit and our $36 trillion debt.
So, Congressman, are you saying that you guys are actually going to be looking at, for example, an application from an 11-year-old whose name doesn't match his Social Security?
Yeah, largely because that application is probably coming from an organized criminal organization in Eastern Europe. And, the amount of federal benefits that are being stolen and that are then being denied or delayed benefits to American citizens that actually deserve them. I want to help everybody that needs help, and our social safety nets are designed to do just that. But they're being overly burdened by illegals and by criminals. And so we're going to stop giving benefits to people that do not deserve them. The Democrats are going crazy because in addition to all of the waste, fraud, and abuse that we're rooting out, we're also ending things like their $2 billion grant to Stacey Abrams to buy new appliances for people in South Georgia. What in the hell, Joey?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So they're going crazy because of that. But we're actually going to get benefits to people that deserve them faster and more efficiently. And we're going to make sure that we can actually help the people that need help. And by the way, if we don't do this, we're not going to have the financial ability to do anything because we're going to go broke.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions I'm asked most often by listeners, Congressman, and with me today, Congressman William Timmons, is, okay, well, we're going to fix this, but what about some of the instances that have already happened? There appear to be large sums of money that were distributed to various people. Is there any effort to go back and look to see if there was a coordinated effort within some of these agencies, these people they knew they were fraudulently distributing this money?
I think I like to use the analogy crawl, walk, run.
Yeah.
Right now we're crawling, and we're going to be walking later this year, and we're going to be running next year. So I think that everything's on the table, but we first got to really wrap our hands around this first part because it's the most important part, and then we can go back. I actually have a bill that does just what we're talking about, and what it does is it forces the Small Business Administration and the IRS to share data, to basically run a report to highlight all the people that likely committed PPP fraud. It's about $100 billion.
Yeah.
Again, Congress did a terrible job of making sure that the right people were getting those benefits. And we didn't have any identification verification, any income verification, and we just handed out billions of dollars willy-nilly. So just by running that report and forcing the government agencies to share data, we can see who stole about $100 billion. Whether that money's still there is another question, but we're going to hold people accountable, and we're going to seize whatever we can.
Yeah, well, that is good to hear because I realize all of this takes time, but if people who were responsible for that and who just glaringly stole money from our government for their friends, they need to be held accountable. All right, let's switch gears just a bit. You guys are working on a spending bill. I believe you have a Friday deadline. Talk with us where you are on that process.
So we're going to pass a 6-month continuing resolution to extend the current funding levels through September. Not the play call I would make, but I'm not the guy that got 77 million votes. President Trump has asked all Republicans to support this play call, and that's what we're going to do. And it's going to pass out today, and then I get to come home.
Wow.
I haven't been home I was home for 48 hours this weekend, but I haven't been home for a couple of days in a long time. So I'll be in South Carolina for a little over a week.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Back in the district. So can you talk with us a little about what's in this CR and
it's literally just extending government funding that has already been extended multiple times. I could tell you 1,000 reasons why it's not good, but at the end of the day, Donald Trump got 77 million votes.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell him no.
Sure. Yeah. So this is going to happen. So let's look down the road, and when this spending bill has reached the end of its time, are we going to get to the point where we're going to start really looking at balancing a budget and passing a budget?
So the problem is, and people don't understand this. There's a lot of keyboard cowboys, but what people don't understand is that in order to pass government funding, you have to have 60 votes in the Senate.
Yeah,
and that inherently requires us to work together in the House. And the Democrats at this point have said that unless they put handcuffs on Elon Musk and on Doge, unless they put guardrails surrounding what the president can and can't do, they're not going to go along with anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass a party line CR in the House today, and then the Senate is going to have to decide whether there's 7 Democrats that want to vote for this continuing resolution, which again is Biden-era spending levels, or shut the government down. So if the Democrats in the Senate want to shut the government down, it's going to be on them, and they're going to feel that pain. But Republicans are not going to shut the government down. And again, President Trump's made the play call, and I think it is probably one of the least bad of all the bad options.
Yeah. Yep. Congressman William Timmons, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate what you do, and good luck, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again in a few weeks.
Thanks for having me on. Look forward to it.
Sure thing. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.